Okay. Yeah. I got it. Did it. I did it in one. The boy's in my lap. He says, "Can't believe you would betray me like this." He looks at me. He looks up with his big eyes and he says, "You've put everything in position, but I am here. Think you want to animate, but I'm actually here to make sure to obstruct you as much as possible because he loves me. I appreciate him for this. Because God knows I don't want him to move." we have a soft, we have a squishable soft boy in my lap for the moment. He will probably try to prevent me from drawing at times, maybe even immediately. But either way, we're going to push on ahead. Without further ado, welcome to the stream, everyone. I'm your host, Isaac, MCCanary. Pronouns all. Yours belong to mine now. If you're new here, your pronouns belong to me now. It's time to work more on the animation. We see it. We see the light. The tunnel has an end. We see it. Uh-oh, Slime, did you still have yours? I'm sorry. Now they're mine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to inform you of this. They belong to me now. I don't know how else to break the news to you. Frankly, you probably would have kept them if you hadn't said anything. But welcome. We're going to do some more of this. Jackson was not available. He had somebody come in town. But I was prepared for this as a backup anyways. So, well, fair enough. Hey, fair enough. I respect that. I respect that. This is why I hold them all. I want them all. I'm not my flavor is all the flavors, not none of the flavors. Or sometimes I'm pretty neutral, but I would say I'm all the flavors, including neutral. I'm bland as fuck. No, that's not true. Don't let anybody ever tell you that being neutral means you're bland. If anything, you're probably more flavorful than most people would care to admit. We want to talk about bland. We all know what bland is here. We don't got to talk about it. Or if you don't think I'm ready for that conversation out in the open. But if you do know, you know, you know, you know. If you know, you know. But where we left off, I was working on trying to finish the shading. It's so damn close, right? And I think other than slight polishes every now and then, I just have to accept that the goal here is my last pass. This is my last pass because I need this done. Now here's the silver lining, everybody. For as long on a calendar scale this has taken me, on the clock, you would be surprised to find out if I was doing this full time, this would have taken me about 2 weeks. This project actually only has come to about 2 weeks of work. Tim was right. Log your hours any way you can. Mine is by streaming. Log your hours. Record your work and log your hours. It's important. It's important both for yourself and for people. Because now I have verifiable evidence to be like, it took me a calendar year, over a calendar year to finish this, but actual logged hours, 2 weeks. This took me about 2 weeks. Like, if I was doing 8-hour shifts and had my eyes glued to a screen for 8-hour shifts of animation, this would have taken me about 2 weeks. Never give up, people. Always remember it's not about the time, it's not about the perceived amount of time it is taken to do something. It is always about the actual amount of time it took you to do it. Always remember that. It is more important. Okay, got that. I also find that the good news is that every time I come back to this, I'm a little bit refreshed, and I'm also a little bit more. There we go. That's using my noodle. I'm a bit more refreshed, and I'm a bit more in mind of what I left off on, right? Like, I have a better sense of what I was doing last, as well as, like, how I can do it a little bit better. There's no waste of time. There's a phrase I've learned recently that I'm going to now probably take to my grave. I don't know why I had never heard of him until pretty much the last 2 years, but I'm glad that Hank found me. I didn't find Hank, Hank found me. And he very recently had a video that I highly recommend. Well, I'm gonna spoil for everyone, but he has a piece of advice that I highly recommend because he's a man filled with a lot of pretty good advice, believe it or not. Hank Green is a wise man. He won't ever tell you that, but he does have wisdom. Um, he would never admit that, but he does in fact have wisdom. And some of his wisdom he has imparted for me fairly recently is there's no such thing as wasted effort. And if there is anything in this godforsaken planet that I can absolutely agree with is that statement because of my pure existence. Really, I believe that. I believe that that is true because if it wasn't true, I would not still be doing this. I wouldn't be doing anything. I would have given up a long time ago. So remember that. Remember that, kids. Write that one down. There is no such thing as wasted effort. If you put your attention into something, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. There. Ooh, come on. I mean, Adobe's doing the right thing here. It likes to autosave a lot, but well, see, that's the funny thing is it's not autosaving actually. If I think about it, it's not autosaving. What it's doing. Oh, what it's doing is it is it's going okay. I'm gonna make sure to put this in a state where you won't lose it. And I'm like, okay, thank you for that, I guess. But yeah, like honestly, I don't know who needs to also hear that. Because here's also another thing that I've learned from my own wisdom is I never assume that people know the things I know. Sometimes we'll hear things at different times. Never, well, not never. I would try to move forward knowing that sometimes people learn things both differently at their own times and their own paces. Do I want, like, if I do this, trying something. Essentially, I just want to add a little bit of depth here to show that it's behind it. Because there's a bunch of movement anyways, these shadows just need to be enough to show that there's depth. Don't need to be exact. That makes sense. There we go. Perfect. I just wanted to add a little bit of texture there. I say as I'm like, do I want to add more? I say as I'm like, do I want to add more? Yes, I do want to add some texture there. Yeah, I do want to add a little bit more texture there. Oh yeah, definitely want to add that there. Welcome to the fun part of animation where you have to be like, oh, that might actually be really nice if I do it that way. Oh, that might be actually very nice if I do that. You know, if I do that, that might actually be really good. Low. Right choice. Made a good choice. Sometimes that's all it takes to make a good choice. It's just being like, ah, I'm gonna make a choice. There we go. Add a little bit more. Kind of better follow what it's doing. You know? Gotta be consistent. Gotta be consistent. The exciting part is I do think I'm gonna get very close. Like, I'm gonna get. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of progress, and I'm gonna get real damn close to the finish line. And the next time, I just have to get it over. Just gotta push right over it. Hmm. Might go back on that. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I should have looked there. Like that way. More like that way. More like that way. Not quite that much. Fair enough. I was correct. Ah, no, that's right. No, that's right. Definitely one of the things I want to improve on. I actually find, believe it or not, one of the things I kind of struggle with a little bit when it comes to uh, animation, illustration, is a sense of visual consistency, believe it or not. Sometimes I just kind of struggle with that. Sometimes I have moments where I don't use all of my eyes. You'd be surprised. You would think, like, but you're raw. You have to use all of your eyes. What are you talking about? And, like, well, yes, but I get tired. I get sleepy. That can affect things. It can affect things with my style. It can affect things with my attention to detail. But it's not from a Pure attention deficit, I don't believe. I think it's just sometimes where it's a little bit harder. Or maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. There might be a little bit there. Maybe a little bit there, but I don't think it's that much. I think it's just like a tiny bit. There we go. Also, there's something to be said that every time I come back to this, I come back to it with, the last bit of wisdom that I had when I last worked on it, and I'm able to actually like directly apply that wisdom to be able to be like, okay, I know what to do now. And then usually what I do is not just do that wisdom again, I try to take it and be like, okay, now what can I do a little bit different or a little bit faster or something that if like my energy was lower, how can I reapply it? Oh boy, he's yelling at me. Oh boy, he's screaming at me. Don't know why he's screaming at me, but he is. Oh god, he's back. What? He left, and now he's back. He's back. Oh. Yes. Make me knock you out of my lap. I know you'll want to. I know your ways, creature. I know your ways, creature. Okay, yeah, there's a little bit of motion. That's actually something really nice that I picked up on about Animate, is Animate will only show you the onion rings. The onion rings. Oh no. Maybe that's why. First off, no. Go away. Uh maybe that's why they had to animate Shrek. Animation is kind of like making an onion. There's onion skinning and everything. Also, something this really helps with, as I've always kind of meant, well, not always, but as I've mentioned as of recently, this is helping a lot with a lot of like general motions. Studies go in both directions, I feel like. Studies and work go in both directions. What I mean by that is oftentimes in situations like this when you're like at least lightly doing like a study of some kind, I'm both, studying and practicing a sense of animation, but it's also feeding back into some of my illustration to be able to do certain things in illustration a little bit easier and better. It's why I understand now when a lot of like quote unquote YouTube animators when they were really really young or getting started doing animation, they would say like not really artists, we're just oh, sorry, where's the hole here? Oh, don't tell me thing. Oh, don't tell me you. Ooh. Sorry. God. I don't know why that happened. Sure is annoying. Still the one thing that I'm like, I don't want it to. What was that? It's going away. I think I fixed it. Hmm. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. Yeah, no, we're good. This is why I was like, I think we're going to get, hopefully, I think we're going to at least get to the catch. I want to finish the catch, I think, is what I want to get to, because that's where things are going to slow down and get really difficult again, because a lot of stuff is going to be moving. I have to think about how the shadows apply rather than where they were or where they are. Own fun little challenge. Once again, I don't know what causes that. And I never will know. There we go. Gonna fill that in. That there. Here's the funny thing about animation. If you really get into it, like, kind of chill and vibe out to it, it's really relaxing. Oh, that's what happened. I swore I changed the oops. Meant to do. That's what I was trying to do. Still don't know why it keeps on doing that. I must be hitting something. I just don't know what. Oh, animate, you mystical creature. It is a bit of a mystical beast to me. A little bit. I should say, honestly, speaking of animation, I've done things. No, I haven't done anything. Well, okay, no, I have done things, just not like that. But I've experienced things recently. They're quite good. Ended up first off, I did end up finally watching Game of Verse, which I don't know if I've mentioned that here yet. I wasn't necessarily waiting for a stream to talk about it, but I did. I finally watched it, and it is quite good. I feel like I'm excited for whatever it does next, and I think right now it's kind of in an awkward spot because I feel like the internet is getting off of the tail of another animation that is also really good that I have been enjoying. Say the least. Finally found a bandwagon, and I have to remember that no matter how popular something gets, um, what matters is if I end up actually liking it or not, not what everybody else thinks. Um, but I mainly bring that up because I also ended up binging a lot of Digital Circus in the last couple days. That was man, that I listen. Why do people like people weren't even like being hush hush about it around me? People just didn't ever insinuate. Well, that's not true. Never mind. I'm gonna shut my mouth on that. People have insinuated. Never mind. Fine. I don't know. I just didn't immediately get. We don't have to get into it. Never mind. Needless to say, I'm glad I'm watching it now. I'm glad I did. I'm also glad I watched Gameoverse. I hope Ross makes more. Hope Ross makes more, because it is quite good, and I think Ross deserves to make it. Knowing things about... not knowing things, but understanding certain elements of Ross's deal. Like, knowing that. There! When did I ever hit that? Fixed it. I fixed it, everybody. In a weird mode. Didn't want to... It was O? O, isn't it? No. I don't know what made that. I don't know what does that. That's the sound of me going... Arr. But yeah, Gameoverse and Digital Circus are quite good. Been enjoying them. God, I want to say a lot, but do not spoil, because actually, I have not seen the finale yet. I'm kind of saving that a little bit. Something else, I will probably watch it this weekend or soon. This weekend or soon. I will say, one thing that drives me a little bit crazy about the discourse about a lot of these is that a lot of people, I feel like, are simultaneously being too critical and not critical enough of them at the same time. Though, I want to talk about a phenomenon that I only kind of was privy to recently, which was a criticism of the concept of media literacy, and essentially people taking, from my perspective, the wrong takeaway from being too critically literate. Because I think there is something to be said that people simultaneously over and underthink a lot of pieces. I don't remember exactly what it was in reference to, but essentially somebody was kind of like on a tiny little rant, I think on Blue Sky, about the idea that I'm trying to remember specifics, but it was generally about that, like, media literacy is overrated. And the irony is I think they are on their way to understand that media literacy is not as simple as just being critical. This is something I've had to learn from my own interaction with media, both between myself and my friends, and like how we actually engage with media. Because the thing that I disagree with that is that there is an idea that there is a way to be literate or media literate in a way that is correct in such a way, or at least in this case, that in trying to do so, you are doing it incorrectly. When in reality, for me anyways, all media literacy is how directly you engage with a piece of media, not how well you can determine if a piece of media is good or bad. That's a part of it. That could be a part of it, but you're not more media literate just for being able to say something is good or bad. That just means you can determine taste, and that you can determine your own taste. That's all that means. For me, at this point, and why I disagree with that assertion, is that media literacy for me is, what do I actually glean from any given piece that I engage with? Because in reality, to be on some level media literate You have to be willing to engage with things you would not like or think are bad. Because I think it is more intellectually responsible to still be able to find something you enjoy out of things that are objectively bad and being able to have a discussion on that than just being able to blanketly say, oh, X is bad. If So pretty much all that I'm saying, that probably anybody who does know this, is that media literacy is just how you engage with a piece of media intellectually. It has nothing to do with if you can determine if something is good or bad. In a certain sense, media literacy requires you as an audience or a viewer to try to step within or outside of your own boundaries to engage with a piece of media on a larger scale, um, and take it in holistically rather than just on the blanket value of if you like it or not, which I'm not perfect at. I've definitely had to revise and revisit that over a period of time, but I certainly feel like I've gotten much better at it. I've gotten much better at it. So really, 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 like all that media literacy means, or at least should mean, is how willing to kind of ingest media and not just consume it. How directly engaged you get with a piece of media, regardless of its quality, regardless of its intent, regardless of even if it's good or bad. It's the ability to take a piece of media and ingest its ideas. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be good or bad to be able to do that. In a certain sense, good training for media literacy, you should be trying to engage with stuff that you aren't going to enjoy as much as stuff that you will enjoy, because those things are still going to inform you. Okay, I wouldn't do this, right? Like, they still inform you, especially if you're somebody who's really interested in making things. um Engaging with stuff that you normally wouldn't like is good for you. You don't have to do it all the time, obviously, but that informs you. And even then, you might still be informed on things that you had never thought of, that you still go, well, maybe I do like this thing, but I would do it different. That's another thing that I think is something that I've picked up on personally, to go like, oh, oh yeah, I would do this way, or oh yeah, I would not do it that way. The only way to get those ideas is to still engage with something you normally would not like. And then on top of that, like, there are things that you can like look at and still like really just be able to enjoy, because media literacy, I think, is also being willing to engage with a piece of media and it be about engaging with the person who made that piece of media. That can be an element of it. It doesn't have to be. All of this is also just like up to personal um, comfort. Ultimately, I wouldn't say every author you need to do that for, but it's not impossible. There's something to be said about a lot of pieces of media that explore like an idea or a headspace. Those headspaces still got to come from somebody. Media literacy really is just one's aptitude to be able to understand a piece of work, regardless of if you ultimately go, you agree or disagree. That, I think, is what real media literacy is. And I would encourage that amongst people. Not with everything, and not everything. If anything, do remember if you do read something and go, yeah, this is all bad, hey, guess what? It's probably all bad. Or at the very least, wasn't for you. But also probably all bad. But you can't get that if you aren't at least willing to be able to have moments in which you go, maybe this was kind of bad, but gosh dang it, I still appreciate that a human made this. Which I think is valuable, especially now, more than ever. I think it is valuable to remember that media literacy is about remembering that on some level, if something works, if anything works, you're connecting with another person. You don't even necessarily have to like everything they do, but you are connecting with somebody else on something. And it is up to you and your responsibility to decide what to do with that information. Ultimately, guess what? A lot of people have written a lot of things. Not all of them are good people. We are a bunch of we are a bunch of primates on typewriters, and Shakespeare was eventually written. I want to know where that freaking analogy. What is that? I think that's an analogy. I don't know what else I would call it, but I want to know where that is from. I want to know who said that first. Where did that come from? Anyways, I definitely want to talk about animation while I'm animating. And certainly, I want to talk about the animations that I've seen within the last couple weeks because they are directly inspiring me to be like, okay, I need to take this not more seriously, like I wasn't taking it seriously, but like actually be like, actually, no, do it too. Um, I saw Game of Verse first, and the reason why I did is because, unbeknownst to me, I'm still only a little bit salty because I somehow missed this until I believe Ari had to tell me, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What the fuck? What? Why did nobody say something?" But I feel like, and I don't know if this is a failing on Glitch's part or not, but it feels like there was a missed notification about the, you know, who was working on that. I didn't know it was Ross. I did not know it was Ross until later, and I went, and then I forgot. Like that's yeah, no, that's a project Ross has talked about wanting to do for a decade and a half. Is my understanding, and he's finally getting to do it. And then I sat down and watched it, and it was really really good. I really enjoyed it, and it kind of reopened something in me regarding media that I had not felt in a really really long time, even with regards to like online media, like YouTube media and stuff. There was a time there was a time, and I think this time also existed for a lot of people, and we've kind of fallen out of vogue with it a little bit because of the nature of how content kind of works right now. That I think is I it's never going to go away, but I think it is finally starting to no longer be the only way to engage. Well, not the only way. The only way that I engage. I'll put it that way. It's not the only way that I engage with media because a lot of the media that still does this, I just don't engage with because I don't have television. Um, but it's been a really long time, and I think that I also was burned by the last experience I had with this, in which like I've never been since pretty much college at the latest, but even then, probably high school. It has been some time since I've genuinely like been directly engaged with a piece of media coming out in real time. Like the last time I remembered really engaging with that was, I believe, some Cartoon Network stuff, and sure there was something else, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm certain there was something else, but I really can't consider what it was. Okay, I need a different color. This white is burning my eyeballs. Hold on. Sorry, I need a darker, softer color because it was hurting my eyes. It was starting to hurt my eyes. I was like, ugh. Like it to be this, just like a gray, or just do a dark gray. Because like I'm like I can't see. It's flashbanging me. I'm like, oh, that helps everybody. I put it in dark mode, everybody. I put the drawing in dark mode. Hold on, I gotta save drawing in dark mode. But yeah, having learned that and having watched it, my big sell, if anybody hasn't seen Gameoverse yet, for me, is one, as always, you know, I'm gonna be better about this. Ignore the discourse. Ignore the discourse. Don't fucking listen. If it looks up your alley and you like Ross Donovan, go fucking watch it and make your own opinion. But my sell is it is a callback and maybe even a love letter to the roots of Ross and a lot of the people who got to start doing animation online, as well as an advancement and maturing of them as like actual performative artists. Because ultimately, the thing I enjoyed about Gameoverse, right, is it comes from a place and a soul of starting off on new grounds and making silly, dumb animations, and conclude it has a through course and conclusion by that first episode of, but we have matured now. Like we're always gonna have that sense of humor. We're always gonna be goofballs like that, but we have lived experience now. That is actually something I got out of Gameverse. That I'm like, okay, I want to see what they do next. And the reason being is, yeah, it hooked me. And not since high school have I been able to really engage with any piece of media, YouTube or not, that like directly to be like now like, okay, I'm excited for when the next episode drops. Uh, it's just not an experience I've had in a long time, and I think part of that is because I actually got burned at one point, and this is where maybe we loop back around to our conversation about media literacy, in that you have to be careful, I think, and try to catch yourself learning the wrong lessons from media literacy. One of the wrong lessons I learned was, I don't remember who was coming out actively, but it was a newer show, and I did watch it pretty quickly to be like, okay, I'm going to keep up with a new show that's coming out. Because I was starting to get into anime more directly. Like, I always liked the medium, and I've always liked the style, but I never actually really engaged much with the medium until way later in life. Uh, like, when I got into college and had friends who were like, hey, you seen this fucking thing called Cowboy Bebop? You should watch it. You would like it. And then, lo and behold, I'm friends with those people to this day because they actually knew how to be like, hey, this person has taste. But no, this person has an interest in certain pieces of media that they would probably like this. And I'm glad that Sean, showed me Cowboy Bebop. Otherwise, I would have never probably watched it, ever. I would have just assumed that, yeah, like it seems interesting, but anime is weird. I don't, I don't want to be weird. I know I want to be weird. Oh no, you failed, everybody. I want to be weird. Weird is good. Um, but I never would have watched it if like Sean hadn't been like, hey, I know you like this and this. I know you like jazz. I know you like weird stuff. I don't remember, like we watched something or like had an interaction. I think part of it was is we started that Traveler campaign, which is very Traveler. It can be very Cowboy Bebop. Traveler in specific is very good for um, space opera. I'm like, you only watched a couple episodes of Cowboy Bebop when I really like. Still trying to figure out why you only watched a couple episodes of Cowboy Bebop when you really liked what you saw. I would say that is a bit of a phenomenon. I've noticed that with some people. I can't say I have an answer directly for you as of to why, but I think part of it is as quality as that show is, its first few episodes are both front heavy and still kind of weird anime, especially if you're not used to it. Now, I'm not saying you're that way, Slime, but I think like there's some people that I exposed it to that are like used to more standard anime, and Cowboy Bebop lands the first few episodes land somewhere in between. The first few episodes are some of the most and least anime that show gets at the same time. Like there's some kind of tropey stuff at the beginning, and it still feels like this is kind of weird. But and what I like about it that makes it actually, transcend that, and I think why it probably resonated so much better with a lot of Western audiences, is that eventually it does become a science fiction drama and it explores philosophy. And it hit me at a time in my life in which philosophy was something that I was curious about. I was curious about exploring. It was something that I was interested in. So I was able to keep through it. It also helps that I had somebody to watch with. I think Cowboy Bebop is a fantastic group watch for anybody who, if you have been listening to this entire conversation, have an actual interest in media literacy. Like, it's a good talking show, right? It's a good show to watch an episode, have a discussion after. That is the best thing that Cowboy Bebop is for, if you're in a place to be able to do that. I've unfortunately had experiences where I tried to show Cowboy Bebop to people, and that's not how they engage with media, and that's fine. Not everybody has to engage with media that way. That's how I engage with media, and that's how I engage with my friends with media, is I like to be able to watch a thing and have a discussion, regardless if it's good or not even. Like, that's what I want out of media. That's what I've always wanted out of media, and that's what I want to provide for media, too. Like, that's kind of inspires these streams. It inspires my writing in God of Limbs, is that even if I'm not doing it perfect, I hope that it generates discussions with people, because it generates discussions between me and my friends while we're actively playing. That's what I want, and that's what I want to provide. And I think Cowboy Bebop is a bit of a double-edged sword in that if you like anime a lot, it's not, but for just pure consumption, I've noticed that it's not going to be people's cup of tea, because it's not a show for consumption. A little bit, it's a show for exploration. It really is. It's a show about exploration of humanity, and it is hard science fiction for that. Like Sean put it best: the best science fiction explores the human condition, and absolutely, Cowboy Bebop is a piece of science fiction literature for that. So if you haven't, and if any of that still interests you, I highly recommend just go for it. I say go for as long as you can. Like, either schedule it every day, or like set aside some time and just be like, I'm going to nail this many episodes out of the way, and then decide if you want to keep watching it. The I would say it goes beyond for Cowboy Bebop, because I would say, like, I would just burst fire it in that case. And this works actually with a lot of pieces of media. I find that even if I'm really liking a piece of media, it's really easy to also just drop it if you, like, say, get distracted by something else or life happens. Stuff happens. But in the case of Cowboy Bebop, watch as much as you can in a single setting. Honestly. I think that would be the best way. It's not a very long show to begin with. I think it's only 26 episodes. I don't even think I think it's only 13 episodes, right? It's only like half a season. It's not very long. And it's worth it. So like watch as much of it in a single chunk that you can and then prepare for another chunk like that if you continue wanting to enjoy it. That would be my recommendation. Yes. I mean, it was my anime virginity. I say that I've been watching anime since I was a kid, but it for me was in a lot of ways there it was what cemented continued to like reinforce my interest in actual media literacy and actual media literacy in things to be like there is no medium out there that you can't engage with on a intellectual level. You just have to find the pieces that will actually invigorate that. Cowboy Bebop did that for me for anime. Fort Minor did that for me for hip hop. Um, Johnny Cash did that for me for country. I like jazz, and jazz is not everyone's cup of tea. Um, like it was fundamental in me being able to understand that anime isn't just cartoons. Because even if I liked it at that point, it was still only ever told to me and talked about as like it's fun cartoons or it's mature cartoons, but the derogatory usage of cartoon. And hi, Comfy. There, see, that's it. Yeah, exactly. It is a good show to binge, and it is worth binging. It is worth setting aside a couple days or like a couple days a month to dedicate to watching it from start to finish and making like almost a project out of. Man, when are we? If life keeps going on the way that it is, I will make a book club for the channel. I Sean and I might make a book club for the channel because we got literature out there that we want to discuss and share. Also, hi, Comfy. Was that an O really to all of the literature that we wanted to be able to discuss and share? Or an O really to I want to start a book club? Or an O really to uh oh? Maybe I need to read Dracula now. Because here's a fair point, and I want to be more mature and better about this. Sean not a big fan of Dracula. Sean actually not a big fan of Dracula. However, here's the thing. He doesn't like it as a whole, but he does like things like the very beginning. Like there are things to like about Dracula. And that's where media literacy actually matters, right? It's not just, oh, it was bad. Oh, it was good. It's actually being able to dissect and be able to like get the nuggets that you liked and be able to go, but I didn't like this part. And be open and honest about that. And that's something that I'm wanting to learn too, to be better. Is one of the first steps for me was learning, okay, I can think about these things and people actually do like think about these things the same way. The next step that I've been working on is, oh, I still like some things. Also, ads are coming. Brace yourselves. Those are always bad. Those are always bad. Except I've seen one artistic discourse on advertising that is artistic and people it's so funny. It came out at a time when, YouTube was still super young. Did he really did oh, what's wrong with me? Now I'm suddenly blanking on his name. One of my favorite animators of all time. Uh what is wrong with me? He did rejected cartoons. And it's such a beautiful day. And I mean, he did an animation called The Meaning of Life. I was gonna say he did The Meaning of Life, but that means nothing. That means nothing. It's very good. Boy, it's gonna hurt me. I should know. Should know. Maybe this is why I ultimately would not be the best at this, but I would still do it. um, yeah, it's gonna kill me. It's gonna hurt my brain. I'm trying to remember his name. And yet I'm getting Drew Linguisis, and that's just not true. That's false. My brain is trying to lie again guys, my brain's trying to lie again, it's trying to give you the wrong name, it's trying to say Drew did it. And I'm like, you know that's not true. You're just trying to find an animator name right now, and Drew keeps on popping in your head. Darren also pops in my head, and I'm like, that's not an animator. That's a musician. That's a composer. What's wrong with me? I know his name. Don. Thank you. Good old Don Hertzfeld. Thank you so much. Thank you for Googling it for me. I know this is a problem that I have, which is that I don't Google, and I should. But Don, yes, Don Hertzfeld. I think people will see things like Don Hertzfeld's rejected cartoons, and their takeaway will be, rightfully so, it's still entertainment, right? Like, it's a silly animation about a guy who made some advertisements and they were rejected because they were ridiculous. And like being able to go back and reflect on rejected cartoons over time, like seeing it several times, um it is about a creative trying to break into an industry and genuinely wanting to have their work like be recognized within that industry, but because of the nature of what they do, it's not what that industry is going to want. But he does actually want to make advertisements. Now, I'm not saying Don wanted to, but that was the thesis, right? That's the thesis of that piece. Is he still made those advertisements with the intent to be like, yeah, I'm advertising your product. And sure, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it still is that essence of really he was still just trying to express himself in the space and like still work with it. There was a period when that came out too that I'm wondering if it's a direct response to either some shit that happened or some very conveniently similar Pop-Tart advertisements that happened that are very reminiscent of Don's art style. That's another thing is I have a pet theory that that's related, but I don't have proof. But I also haven't looked into it, so I haven't looked for proof either. But around that time when rejected cartoons came out, I want to say like a little bit before, because rejected cartoons came around the end of the aughts, like about the end of it was about mid high school for me, so it was 2017 to 2011 is when I believe it came out, if not before that. And around that time, there were Pop-Tart advertisements going around for years that were, I swear, again, maybe it's a coincidence, but I swear some of those character designs looked like some of Don's. I don't know. I don't know the credit for those advertisements, but I swear they were Don Hertzfeld. But also probably a cursory Google search would fix all that. But why would I do that? Where's the fun? Where's the drama in that? Elucidating the truth. Me, I only like to do that some of the time. Not all the times, viewers. Come on now. Where's your sense of mystery and being wrong? But no, like, I do think that rejected cartoons is both a like criticism of artists who were getting into advertising at the time, as well as a still like a genuine kind of like processing from an artistic standpoint of like he just wanted to make cartoons and the outlet he had was advertising. That's what he had. That's what rejected cartoons are ultimately. Is like even if they're a criticism of advertising on a social level, they're also a criticism of artistic expression. They are, because there's still like a hint of truth of even if he was as an artist making something that he wanted to make. That didn't necessarily mean that he was right making it the way that he did if the industry ultimately didn't like it. That's a bit of an existential crisis. And I can appreciate that, understanding that, like, at least making that connection. You know? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm full of horse dookie. But that's the beautiful thing about art, right? Is like, no matter what, you're connecting with somebody else's ideas through your own lens. And people need to remember that. Like, you don't necessarily. You're not necessarily 100% for or against another human being's as whatever they're writing. But you are making a human connection on some level, irregardless of what that person is or does. And I think it's important for people to remember that. Doesn't mean you now suddenly have to respect any given person for doing certain things. People make things. And I think it's, especially now, pretty important to remember that people make things. Part of being a person is sometimes not being a very good person. Now, again, that doesn't ever justify anyone for doing anything that's fucked up or messed up. I'm not saying that. So don't do rest yourselves assured. I'm not justifying any kind of behaviors. Certainly not for myself. Absolutely not. Doot, 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 doot. That's also why, at least, if you've agreed with anything that I've said, do what I should do, and don't read the comments. Stop reading the comments. They just will make you angry. That's not true. That's not 100% true. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm a little bit of a weirdo sometimes. Um, I don't find that I'm all that bothered by comment sections, typically. I think they influence certain things about how I engage with certain pieces of media, but I personally am not, like, against interacting or looking into them to see if there's any insight I might not have considered. I think oftentimes I go down there and go, yep, I don't necessarily agree with really any of this, but that doesn't mean that I disagree with all of it all the time. I think it also helps that it depends on the comment section. I think there are people who handle their comment sections better than others. And it also depends on the context of what I'm looking into. And typically I've gotten better, and I recommend this for anybody else out there who are just like, don't read the comments. Don't read the comments, but you do read the comments. If you do read the comments, remember that people are going to be examining things differently no matter what. And something that is obvious to you might not be obvious to somebody else. And so not everybody does actually engage in as deeply on a piece of media as others. That's fine. Just remember. Gotta talk to those people. All this to say, the Gamaverse good. Go check it out. Highly recommend. Excited for episode 2. Actually, really looking forward to it. Hope Ross is doing well. I think part of this discussion was a little bit of venting about a little bit of the discourse on that, because I think some of the discourse on that also ruined it for me a little bit, or almost ruined it for me. I should be more specific. It didn't ruin it for me. If it ruined it for me, I wouldn't ever have watched it. But I do think a lot of people were being very harsh on it. They were criticizing things that I just frankly think people are unjustifiably upset about, frankly, but that's just me. If you read the comments, don't forget to change the sorting from new. That's actually weirdly a good point. Weirdly, the best comments are probably what you want to look out for, not the newest ones. The newest ones are just going to be whoever is saying shit first or last. That's not always the people you want to be reading. You do want to read the most relevant comments. There, maybe that's the real nugget. Don't read irrelevant comments. Some comments are irrelevant, especially on the internet. As somebody who makes irrelevant comments all the time, some comments are irrelevant. Don't listen to them. And again, I think there's a lot of harsh criticism on Gameoverse that I'm willing to reprieve, because when I engage with that piece of medium, and I kind of am getting this now that I'm starting to make my own things, that I'm starting to understand that there is a divide between, and this isn't a bad thing. This is a thing that I'm getting used to, as I'm gonna start. If I continue doing this, it'll just put me in the public eye more. So I need to be aware of it and figure out how to like deal with it on my own terms. Right? Is eventually people are going to become critical of my work. Um, but when I see like Gameoverse, and I really engage with it, I'm engaging with it less as just a piece of media, and I'm engaging with it as much as like a getting to see a person that I do respect a lot, getting to do something that they care about. So, and I just never heard any discourse about the fact that Ross is working on this, and the fact that a lot of Newsgrounds people were working on it. But I also think there's some baggage there, which is fair. I think, unfortunately, the Newgrounds crew has ups and downs, ultimately. But I'm starting to realize that even those ups and downs don't inhibit them from still being people and being creative people. If they truly cared about any of that stuff, they would have stopped making things. Though, granted, you could argue one of them did. But that's the point, right? Like, Ross didn't stop, Barry didn't stop. There's a lot of people out there who are Newsgrounds people who never stopped, even if they were tied to Newgrounds. And even in Digital Circus, there's a lot of names that I was like, hey, there's some Newgrounds people in there too. So I'm glad that essentially Glitch has picked up a lot of those Newgrounds people who started off doing animation and probably never wanted to stop. There was just a period where it just genuinely wasn't something that they were able to really pursue, I think, because of the way that the internet went, the way that YouTube went. They couldn't pursue animation the way that they had started off. And I don't blame them. The internet changed in a way that they couldn't. That's also fair. So for a lot of people, especially with Glitch in mind, which I wouldn't be surprised if Glitch still had some grounds at Newgrounds, because as time has gone on, that whole entire circle of YouTube celebrityism has kind of evolved, right? Um, that they are an industry. They now hold the keys to an industry, and it's kind of cool seeing it actually come to fruition that these people can now finally get back to doing what they wanted to do, I think, the entire time, which is just make things. Make cartoons, make fun videos, make silly things, but also make things that matter to them because they were all ultimately artists. Digital Circus has a couple of good cameos that if you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to say who, that were also Newgrounds people. That's the only thing I'll spoil is they're Newgrounds people, and it's fun cameos. One of which I was just like, I thought it was somebody else, but then it didn't. It turned out to be completely somebody else differently. That I was like, oh, okay. Still wasn't expecting that person, and I can respect that. I genuinely can because for me, and the media literacy that I get out of it is regardless between Digital Circus and uh uh Gameaverse is like you get to see these people genuinely supporting each other in their creative endeavors. That's super cool. That's like super. I don't. At this point, I'm like, I don't care if people. If there's a strong like discourse against either of those pieces of media anymore, I finally now understand they're still getting to do the damn thing. And I respect that so much. And for me, they're doing things right. They're doing media that I would want to make. And now because of that, I'm going to start taking Glitch LinkedIn advertisements a little bit more seriously. Saying, if I'm going to keep working on animation, I might have to start being like, hey, I made a new one. Hey, here's a new one to my resume, you know? Like, oh, that reminds me. I should post I have like some completed animations that I could post to my portfolio on VGen. I should do that. I should also make an animation listing. Here's a downside I've learned about VGen recently. It does have a limitation until I can start making sales. I can only have 5 listings, which is fine. I don't think I need more than 5 listings right now, but it does mean I only have 5 listings. I also need to figure out products. That's the next thing I'm going to look at because I do have some products, and I just need to start listing shit. This is a secret. Oh no. Oh no, I'm going to give away industry secrets. Just gotta keep adding. Just gotta keep posting shit until something happens. Just don't give up. Just keep adding to it, just little by little. Add to it consistently, and add to it frequently. Doesn't have to be a lot. It can be like one thing at a time. The repetition is more important than the volume. Actually, I would argue. I think you would want to start off with a decent volume, and then just continually add it to it over time, like without stopping, essentially, or with little stops, with as little stopping as possible. Especially for e-commerce. That's why I'm like, I have products. I need to put them on there. My next goal. And then also, I didn't know this, ArtStation, though I should have known this, but ArtStation also has a selling platform. I will probably look into that next. I will probably get products set up on... Once I get products set up on VGen, I'm going to look at setting up my seller on ArtStation to set up products there as well. Ultimately, I have both. I should use them. And then if that does something, or if that says something and starts being self-sustainable, one of the nice things about ArtStation in Inverse is that ArtStation I can upgrade to a buyer or to a business account. And if I upgrade to a business account, I could probably actually get things chugging. That way, that is a consideration to have. So the nice thing is the way that essentially the way that I have developed my e-commerce is I'm a very big fan of unique items. It's just what has worked for me best is being able to, because I get wanting to just have a listing and then just make bullshit, right? Like, I get it. I get it. It's convenient. It's simple. You only have to make one listing and you just sell the product. You don't have to do anything else. But for me, what has worked for me and what I've sold the best is unique items. that is actually what I have done the best that I know I can do for myself. Um, and one of the ones I want to start with is I'm gonna start selling hopefully those sketches, and then at some point, maybe not every week, but I definitely want to start building up a habit that 2 a month, maybe even 1 a month. I don't care. It's literally a 15-minute sketch. I can find 15 minutes on a weekend to do that. And then I'm just building up a product base. That's just me building up a product base. Because every time I do one of those sketches, it both gives me practice, it gives me something to list, and it gives me something to share. These are all very, very good for e-commerce. Which is why it's a bit maddening that in my experience, a lot of e-commerce people who have tried to get into e-commerce immediately are just like, why do you keep making things? Just do it once. And I'm like, that's not how these platforms work. You have to keep you have to keep adding to it. If you don't add to it continually, people are not going to stay invested, in my experience. So I'm hoping I could start using that like knowledge base. Finally, like really start doing that work. Because I want to do that work. That's work I want to do. Making very, very good progress. At least I feel like I am. I feel like I kind of went on a rant there for a second, but what's happened here? I like I think there's a responsible way to rant. And I actually want to let you guys know that I really appreciate that on a certain level that you guys give me a space to safely rant about certain things that are ultimately pointless. I want to put this out there. I don't ever want to have a serious rant. I actually don't think I ever want to. I think I have a couple times, and I actually want to apologize anytime that I've had an actual rant. I don't ever want to have a serious rant. One, in my experience on the internet, it's not a good look. Just is. Everybody will always say something they regret saying if they have a genuine ass rant. It has never gone well for people to have a real fucking rant on the internet. Am I crazy? I think that's a pretty. I'm not even gonna say it's like a responsible observation. I'm not even gonna say it's a realistic observation. I think it's just true. If anything, it is maddening to me how frequently I'm still just like, how you guys not figured out? Stop it. It's a bad idea. Don't don't rant about something on the internet. It goes poorly every time for every single one of you. Learn the fucking lesson. That's now to be fair. To be fair, clearly I'm not above having my own rants on here, and my own hills to die upon. I think everybody does. I'm just saying, there's a reason why I do not actually want to turn this into a rant channel or actually like do genuine, honest to god rants. Just seems like a bad idea. Just seems like a bad idea, guys. Don't do it. I try to actually, believe it or not, I try to avoid ranting. At least I tell myself that. I would tell my therapist that. I should probably get one. I do think so. I do genuinely think I do. I think I sometimes get a little bit manic. I do think I get a little bit manic about certain topics. I think I get energy built into them a lot of times. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's not such a good thing. But that is neither here nor there. I do think overall, I think it's a good thing. And I encourage other people. You have an outlet for stuff like that. I think it's more important to have an outlet like that from the perspective of they are thoughts. No matter what, they're thoughts. They're thoughts you're going to have, right? Everybody's going to have stuff like that. Sometimes we have incorrect thoughts. That's it. They're just wrong. Earlier, I was talking about. I don't know what happens. Well, I do know why that happens. I hit a button that generated a camera. I just don't know what that does if I do that. Oh, freaking beast. Okay, that just undid that part. At least it was just that. Oh. At least I think so. If I am not doing that, please let me know. I don't actually want to go on rant. That's mainly what it is please, 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 for my own safety on the internet, if you notice that I'm going on an honest to God actual rant-ass rant that's full of beans, let me know, actually. I do not. It just never ends well. It never ends well. Every time. Well, not every time. Every time. I don't know. Every time I've seen somebody go on a genuine ass internet rant, it does not ever look like it is good for them to do that. No matter what. It's just bad idea. You heard it first. No! Comfy, no! But maybe. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. Don't listen to me. Please. Don't listen to me, just listen to me. That's the thing. This is a weird little aside, I would say, to get if you want to kind of understand where I'm coming from a little bit better. Where I'm coming from is like be willing to be willing to. I'm actually gonna think about it. Hold on, hang on, hold on, hang on. Oops. Scared myself. I jump scared myself. Somehow doubled the music speed. I think that as far as anything that I say, I do try to think through a lot of the things that I say, and I do say things pretty impassionately sometimes. A lot of time. I'm not always right for it. I know it. But it doesn't mean that I don't ever know what I'm talking about. And also, I know mainly just recognize that I am just gonna be I'm gonna be hyperbolic sometimes. I speak a lot in superlatives and hyperbole. And it is more about becoming acquainted with that than it is about trusting every word that comes out of my mouth, because I don't trust every word that comes out of my mouth. So that's really what it is like, if you ever catch me on going on one of my rants, if you don't know who I am, probably you're just going to assume that I'm full of bullshit, which I kind of am. But if you do know where I am, if you've gotten to know how I am as a person, you probably wouldn't be bothered. Yeah, it's true. I did survive those Elden Ring rant sessions. And I was still correct. No, I was half correct. But no, that's the thing about a rant, right? I think genuine, honest to God genuine rants that are in good faith. There are bad faith rants. There are also just definite hills that are too dangerous to die on. But I do think, like, any rant comes from a place of wanting to make yourself vocalized about something that is unique to your perspective, even if it isn't holistically true. If that makes sense, right? Like, people don't go on rants like that, anyways, because they've found, like, the secret sauce. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong for this. Probably wrong for this. I'm processing. This is an important part to remember. Probably why I also want to avoid rants. A lot of this is processing. A lot of this is like I'm kicking some ideas around, trying to process them to actually make them make sense. I'm gonna drink some water for HydrateBot. Thank you, HydrateBot. We appreciate and love you. Anyways, when somebody is ranting about something, it's because they just want to justify a position that they have. And they have reason to believe that there is not validity to their lived experience being recognized, even if they're wrong. Example, me and Elden Ring. I think I've had a terrible time with Elden Ring for completely unique reasons. Or at least unique in the sense that I won't shut the fuck up about them. That's not to say nobody, and that's not even to say that everybody likes Elden Ring more than I do. No, my friends have their own equally valid as well as overlapping criticisms of Elden Ring. But a lot of them don't necessarily agree that my specific problems I have with it are things that they struggled with. So, well, I started ranting. Because no matter what, it's like, all I want you guys to understand is this is a possible point just because you didn't struggle with it. And I think that's probably where most rants, most harmless rants actually come from, is somebody just wanting to validate a perspective. The problem with the danger with that I do know there's a danger, is when people try to utilize that to justify spicy opinions that you don't have to talk about. That's why ultimately Elden Ring is a video game. I can be better. It's a video game. Who gives a fuck? I don't. I shouldn't. And I want to not. No buts. Ultimately, even, I had a discussion recently, now that I can't remember the context for, but even if I'm not a big fan of Elden Ring as a game, and I like Dark Souls the most out of that series, Souls games are important to me. And they help me process a thing regarding adversity. Even if they kind of suck at it a little bit in later games, I think. I think they kind of get away from a lot of that, which is what I liked about the original Dark Souls, that, again, kind of one of my rants, nobody was really talking about. I remember mentioning how, like, I don't think Dark Souls is good because it's hard. I think Dark Souls is good because its difficulty is used thematically well. And somebody, of course, was was just like, well, that could only exist because it's hard. So in reality, Dark Souls is only good because it's hard. I'm just like, case, then fucking the hardest games on the planet would be the best games ever. Ugh. Because again, I sometimes feel like I run into this situation where I'm like, I try to make a nuanced assertion about something, and then somebody will be like, "Isn't that just the thing?" And I'm like, I'm trying to make an observation. I'm not just trying to say it's a thing. That's my problem. I keep on overcomplicating my own ideas, and people don't like that. People like simple. I like simple, trust me. I do, but I can't help myself. Sometimes I like to. No, I don't like to. Sometimes I just do overcomplicate things. But that's also why over time I have learned. Hey, here, back to the comment sections. Read the comments. Some sometimes some people just comment because they're trying to wing intellectualism, and intellectualism is not telling somebody you're smarter than them, regardless of how smart the other person is. Not intellectualism. I like simple. Twos is simple. Is. It's twos. That's all you're gonna get out of me. But no, like, I think it's important to still like be somebody on the internet willing to say this kind of stuff, because I do think there is, and like Sean and I have like noticed it, and we've even had our own discussions about it, like a real concern of a sort of kind of open anti-intellectualism that is not that is reinforced by people like me making that statement, and then people going, well, do you think we're all dumb? You can't talk with anyone about that. You kind of have to be dumb to have those conversations. I'm dumb. But I'm curious. I think real intellectualism is about exploring your curiosity in any subject, and being willing to be open and discuss it with people who won't give a shit about it. This is my hot take, I guess. I don't think that's a hot take. I have a lot of lukewarm takes, I think. I need to stop saying hot take. I don't have any hot takes. I can't think of a single hot take that I actually have. My hot take is my hot take is Elden Ring is bad because I had to use a summon to beat Radon in the DLC. I guess. That's like the hottest take I can think of off the top of my head. And I want to actually, hey, I want to go on a separate coming to Jesus ass conversation that we all need to have here. We need to stop being so harsh on people asking for help. I want to cut that shit. Okay, fine. Hey, Comfy, there's two of us. I think Ari had my back on that. I think they had my back on also agreeing that Redline is a love story. Or no. Redline is about love. It's about love. You'll never change my mind. Yeah. It not only did it give you tools, I think sometimes people there is slowly over time, I think people took the wrong lessons from Dark Souls. I think people took the wrong lessons from Dark Souls, not even because those things aren't valid. One of the lessons I took from Dark Souls is like you can overcome anything if you give enough time. Right? Like you can overcome anything, and the power of individualism is strong. That was something I got out of Dark Souls when I played it the first time, the way that I played it. But I didn't rely on summons. And since then, like, kind of had a weird coming to society realization of, I think, and I still got this from Dark Souls 1, that community was an important part of Dark Souls 1. Like, what made Dark Souls 1 special and made it good is that actually, no matter what, you weren't actually alone. Even if you were taking a challenge by yourself, you were never truly alone because there were always community assets and community involvement. And if you involved yourself in that community, it enriched the experience. Dark Souls as much is about like interacting with other people, good people and bad people, as it is about overcoming adversity on your own. And the reason why I bring that up is there was, I think, a little bit of a wrong lesson taken from Dark Souls and from a lot of Souls games and from a lot of video games that I'm starting to like realize that people out the people that I want to reach who feel this way too is that being able to play a game with people in it means you're interacting with other people, and some of the you should feel good when people help you. And that people do want to help each other. You know, I fucking believe that. I believe that, and I think there's a bit of a mistake that has been kind of ingrained in a lot of culture regarding video games, and that you have to do everything yourself. Even in a multiplayer game, even in a team-based game, all of the pressure is on you, right? Like success or failure is dependent on your individual ability. When in reality, over time, it's just not true. It's not true. It's blatantly not true. Um, and it doesn't have to be. And Souls games are about understanding that individual performance is important, but community is still a resource. And you should never belittle somebody for utilizing a resource. And if anything, the people who like, champion that shit to be like, you're not good at the game unless you can beat it with your hands tied behind your back and by yourself. Those people are miserable. That's the real thing. Those people, they're miserable. You're never gonna convince them that you're good at anything. But that there are people in the world in games who play games to be around other people. So yeah. That's true. That's also true, Slime. Really unhappy individuals who probably aren't happy playing a game anyways. One of the things that really stuck out to me, and maybe again we might revisit this game at some point. That made me go, maybe it is a community problem. But now I'm also realizing like, no, it's individual problems still. When Arc Raiders was getting kind of big, when it first came out, there was a lot of clips coming out, and one of the clips that always stuck with me, I don't know if I'm sure I've mentioned this anecdotally on stream already, but one of the clips that popped out to me was somebody was like minding their own business or doing something, I don't remember what, and then they get jumped by a rat, and the rat is going to execute, but the person he was running away, calling out for help in Void, and then he gets downed, and then the rat goes to finish him off, and then just like maybe over half the lobby, just run over a hill and then gun the guy down. And the thing that always sticks out to me, hey, we're back to the comments. I read the comments like an idiot. However, this is where it's just good to read the comments because I would never have this realization if I hadn't read the comments. Somebody left the comment, imagine having to ask for help. And it just clicked in my brain. In that moment, it made me realize, like, these people who will say shit like that, they are miserable. They don't understand. They don't understand. Because they believe that if you have to ask for help, that's like a sign of weakness for some reason. And if there's anything I've finally like learned over time is that is not true. Absolutely not. People want to help each other. People actually want to help each other. I think it is fair and valid. Still want to believe, like, encourage people to want to strive through adversity, through their own work. But I think there's a bit of a mistake that somewhere along the way, people began to forget. Maybe not forget, but like people stopped at some point. They stopped at some point being able to realize that, like, you know, we can, you still do need to have moments where you ask for help. You can't do everything. You can't do everything. Doesn't mean you shouldn't immediately rely on somebody every single second. It is still good to be self-reliant. But I think there was a bit of an equally terrible insinuation that only people who ask for help ask for it because they can't do it themselves. I don't think that's 100% true. And the more that I've like seen certain pieces of media, I've played more games, and I've spent time with people, it's always a balancing act. It always is. And it's always good. It's always good to try to achieve something on your own. Equally, we should stop discouraging outright. I think we should stop discouraging it outright. I think it's been insanely harmful to a lot of people to insinuate that the only way to achieve anything is through your blood, sweat, and tears. No. It's bleeding and sweating together that actually gets shit done. Hot take. It's not bleeding and sweating alone, it's bleeding and sweating together. Anyways, this wholesome rant brought to you by a very emotional afternoon. I'm fine. Good emotional afternoon. Listen, guys, I just. Digital Circus is good. Spoilers, it's good. And I can't say anything more about it because I definitely know there are people in chat who haven't seen it all the way, so I don't want to spoil anything because shit, I really want to talk about it. And I haven't finished it yet. I'm still need to do the finale, so you better not fucking listen. I'm talking to you, VOD people and chat. No, no spoilers. Please. I somehow managed to not get any spoilers of this show at all, to the extent that I did. I like to keep it that way. All right. Anyways, Cowboy Bebop's good too. You should watch it, Slime. Everybody should watch it. It's very good. It's great music, great animation, great characters. It's a good time. I hope Ross is doing good work on Game of Earth. I'm eagerly anticipate watching the next episode. Again, if for nothing else, I haven't actually had a piece of media where I can go, man, I can't wait to see the next episode. It's just something I haven't really gotten to experience in such a long time. And like have the anticipation for it and not the immediate gratification. Like I can't just go out and binge the whole thing. Like I actually have to wait. That's a foreign concept to me now. I have not done that in a long time. And I used to. I used to do it all the time with different stuff. I used to do it with different YouTubers, do it with certain television, though I can't really remember the last television show I felt that way about, truly. I think I went on a bit of a tangent and then forgot to conclude the tangent. The example I was going to bring up of where I got burned. The most recent example I can think of something that's like analogous to this is unfortunately ReZero, which I think I mentioned before. They always clarify. ReZero was my like kind of the opposite wake up call of, oh no, there's gonna be animes that are gonna have a lot of hype that even I'll start off liking a lot, and then I'll just go, I fucking hate this. That oh no, that can still happen. I had to have that with ReZero, unfortunately. That was mine for me. If you like ReZero out there, power to you. I wanna like ReZero. I just can't. But with things like Gameverse, I mean, I could have done that with Digital Circus. What's funny is I saw the first episode of Digital Circus, then I just kind of fell off for it, which we don't have to get into. There is context there, but I don't think it's appropriate to talk about, and it's fine. It's whatever. Shit happens. Um, Mistakes were made from both accounts. Now I learned better, and I'm like, okay, I need to trust myself more. No buts. Um, because when it first came out, I decided to look into it, and I was interested in it. But one of the turnoffs for me originally that I was concerned about, that now I'm like, okay, I get it. Actually, for specifically Digital Circus, without spoiling anything, in the first episode, a lot of its sense of humor relies on something that I would like to describe as Zim humor. You do not know what I mean by Zim humor. Zim humor is essentially the idea that the sense of humor in the show is this kind of like wacky, wavy, inflatable tube guy that is constantly a little in your face and a little obnoxious. That is very reminiscent of Invader Zim. The reason why I use that as a kind of analytical the reason why I really call it that is because I remembered in college, I remembered being younger and like actually really liking Sim as a kid. I remembered like seeing a few episodes and always wanted to watch it more, and I remembered liking it quite a bit. And I remembered watching an episode in college and going, "Oh, this is not age as well as I thought it did. This is not my sense of humor, actually, very much at all." And I didn't like it. I didn't like Vader Zim as much as I expected to because I remembered being younger and liking it a lot. And Digital Circus leads with a lot of that kind of sense of humor. However, they over time and certain things I know about it, it is the correct creative choice. It is. It actually is. That said, you will feel like you're going to rip your eyes out at points if you are like me and have a particularly strong adverse reaction to that kind of sense of humor. And I'm just gonna tell you, yeah, that's the intended response. That's the intent behind it. To make you feel like you're clawing your eyes out. Also, have a good night. Thank you for joining, Slime. I hope you enjoyed words wisdom with nary whilst they draw. Alright, this is gonna bug me too much. Mistake at some point, and now I have to. The longer that I just leave it there and ignore it, the longer I know it's just going to be like, well, not gonna like. There it is, folks. Any project, when you see something like this, you gotta start fixing it, or else you'll go crazy. I could tell I was getting tired. You could tell I was getting tired, and also that I was not as in it last time, if that makes sense, by how I was drawing. It happens. It happens to be. Bye, Slime. Bye, Slime. We appreciate Slime. Appreciate all you. Y'all are troopers. But honestly, like, I don't ever really foresee me doing much rant stuff anyways, because ultimately I just want to be able to, like, have a thought, maybe a little bit more impassionately expressed than necessary, but I just have a thought. Anyways, continuing about the Zim humor, there's a big part of that piece of media that is about the grating nature of its subject material that is much more nuancedly, well, not, I don't know if nuance is the term I want to use. It's just much more subtly handled than I think people even would initially expect, because you're either going to love the Zim humor because you love Invader Zim, or you're going to hate the Zim humor because you hate that kind of humor. The problem is I think there are fewer people like me in between who, well, maybe not. Maybe not. It is a popular show. I need to remember that if I have that thought, and if I know other people have definitely had that thought at some point, not the only one who's had that thought. I do think it makes it hard to sell that show, though. I think it makes it very difficult to sell that show, because actually I'm like, now I'm thinking about like my friends. I'm like, I would really like to see how Sean would respond to it, but I can't guarantee he would be able to stomach more than 3 episodes of it. Because by design, it's supposed to be pretty hard to stomach if you don't enjoy that kind of stuff. But at the same time, which is also worrisome to me, but maybe a little meta commentary, or I don't know, probably not. I'm probably just reading much into that. People who do genuinely enjoy that sense of humor, probably saying something about them. I don't know. It's an interesting show. This is why I'm like, I think if for nothing else, I would like to sit down with Sean and like probably watch it through at some point, because it is an interesting show to discuss. Same thing with, I think, Gameoverse, though it's not finished, so you can have less of a discussion about it, but I think it's still worth discussing. There's stuff in there to discuss. I think there's a lot to discuss in Digital Circus that even I think a lot of people aren't discussing because it was just very, very popular. I mean, like, I don't blame it. There is, just as a piece of visual media, real good looking show. Like, it's pretty. It is very pretty. There's a lot of masterwork of animation happening inside of that show. There's also a lot of masterwork of comedy writing in it as well as just writing in general. But I think sometimes people, again, usually just see cartoon and think cartoon objects moving and can recognize when that's good. It's just weird to me that some people they just turn off their brain and just look at the pictures move. It's crazy to me. They don't listen to what people are saying. It's maddening. Or flip side, they become too critical about it and then they shut off because something is already like, ooh. Though I will say that is one thing that makes it hard to sell. That also makes it hard to sell other things about it and other things related to it. Because by design, those things are actually pretty rough. They are inherently what I like to describe as bad times. And I actually think it's really hard to write a good bad time. It's not easy. It's really hard. It's really challenging in some ways. I think it's also really difficult to be willing to openly make statements like that because it's really easy to be perceived poorly if you mess it up. I think it is actually harder to make media that is objectively supposed to put individuals in uncomfortable spaces than it is to make things that don't do that. I won't say I won't ever attempt it, but it is something that I think I've attempted before and miserably failed at. Well, I won't even say miserably failed. I want to actually, my friends actually reassure that the first attempt at the God of Limbs campaign was not as bad as I keep on thinking it is. But you know what? Fair. Thank you, friends. No buts. Like, I'm glad. Like, I partly thought that the reason why that fell off was because I was doing things. There was some valid criticism in there that I was doing things that were way too rough, but the actual things were more like Isaac, Nary. I get that this song is thematic. Don't play a Death Grip song on repeat for 2 hours for a combat section. No, fair. That was my mistake. But I do admit, like, a lot of the writing I'd originally done for it was purely. It wasn't never supposed to be malicious, but it was not pretty. It was not tame. It was not. It was exploring some pretty rough spaces that I'm hoping this time around. I'm like, one, because this is a public medium, because I'm sharing it with more people. I'm not good enough at writing or confident enough at writing to be able to try to be like, yeah, we're just gonna go there, guys. We're just gonna process it out together. I'm not gonna do that. It's just no. I understand now. I'm making entertainment first, and it's easier to make something entertaining when you're not doing that stuff. It's actually harder. Um, Not impossible. Case in point, Digital Circus, but very difficult. That said, I still want to make a horror piece. I still want it to be a horror piece first and foremost, and I still want it to, as it's been going, explore spaces that are going to become uncomfortable over time. They're still going to be there, just definitely not going to be as intense as I originally intended them to be. Really good piece of media to be incredibly frustrated at at that specifically is an animated movie called Flow. Ever use 2 or 5% of your brain watching that movie, you'll get something. So you can tell exactly who does and doesn't just watch the pictures move. Interesting. I might check that out. You want to watch it sometime? Or I might bring it up with Sean, because even though Sean is not an animator, I can tell he has an interest in animation, the medium, as like a piece of medium from like a study standpoint. He really likes animation. Um, I might also bring that up to him. I've never heard of. I don't think I've ever heard of Flow. Say that because if it has been mentioned to me, I probably forgot. Um, but I don't recognize the name. I don't think. Maybe I do. It's like 50-50. I'm like, have I heard of that? No. Another example of that I would give that especially I actually got something out of is Stalker. Stalker and Roadside Picnic for their own purposes. I think they're both rough in different ways for very different reasons, for very different qualitative reasons. It's a very good movie. Okay. Okay. I would be down too. Um, but as I was saying, uh, A Roadside Picnic, my quibbles with it have more to do with the way that characters are handled. That's like more qualitative. I don't think content wise there's anything that's that rough that makes it rough for a point, except for maybe the end. Like the only thing I could justify there is Redrick is rough because you have to put up with this asshole for 90% of the book, and then at the very end you have 2 moments near the end at the very end where you go, oh, okay, fine, fine, I had to put up with Redrick and he was worth it. Still don't like him. I still question if it was worth it. Stalker is a little bit more difficult because Stalker is not a good movie and it's not a bad movie. Stalker is an example of a movie that really challenges the viewer to put up with a certain level of its bullshit to a point, to an actual artistic theme. That said, that's what makes it rough to watch is a lot of that movie is incredibly slow, and it's part of the point. But that doesn't mean in the moment that it makes for good cinema. It makes it good cinema on the whole, not in the moment. The cat movie. The cat movie. Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't. That does not sound familiar to me. The only cat movie I know is Aristocats. Surely I know another cat movie. Wait. Surely I know another cat. Jungle Book. I got there eventually. It's funny as I've seen Jungle Book. I have not actually. If I've seen Aristocats, I was so young I don't remember it. I was such a baby that I don't remember anything that happens in it. Okay. I trust. Trust, I believe. I will say also, like, if you want a weird, artsy, the sum of it, again, much like a roadside pit. This is the fascinating thing I always have with this particular piece of media is that I always think that its sum is what makes it worth those pieces of media, not its moment by moment sequences. Though there is one sequence that I am obsessed with in Stalker that I genuinely love. Like it's really good, as well as a couple of noteworthy parts that are weirdly humorous. There's a weird sense of humor in Stalker that I just straight up did not expect to be in that movie. That both Sean and I agree is like, no, there's supposed to be jokes, they're weird jokes and they are funny. They just also are in the movie Stalker. Which by inherent admission makes them kind of out of place and weird. Those aren't real movies. You can't convince me that those are real movies. I've never seen the funny orange cat 3D animated movies. Frankly, I don't think I ever will. I know Chris Pratt just recently was that came out. I like that that came out and then literally nobody said absolutely anything. Did anybody talk about that movie? Maybe, maybe I didn't hear it. I didn't. This is the thing. I think a lot of people talked about the Barbie movie. I think a lot of people talked about the Super Mario movie. Nobody talked about the Garfield movie. Sorry, bud. Nobody cares about the orange cat no more. Except for people who are on the deep internet doing things like Garfield without Garfield and Lasagna Cat. Say, we want to talk about analog horror. Let's talk about Lasagna Cat. Lasagna Cat is a media criticism that exists on the internet. Anyways, all that to say, there is good media out there that is explicitly hard to stomach. And man, I'm having thoughts. We'll probably talk about this in private sometime. I might give it a shot. I still just can't, on good faith, based on two non recommendations to consume this piece of media. However, I also understand that there is one recommendation for me to experience a piece of media that is a bad time. Explicitly because we can't guarantee you will like it, but out of everyone we know, you will get probably the most out of this. I was told that, and unfortunately, they were correct. Still can't recommend that piece of media to anybody, and I have now kind of banned it from ever being uttered upon this stream like a curse. But I can't admit I did. Yes, that is a correct assertion that my friends did make. And there's another piece of media that I actually will not mention by name because it might be spoilers. So there's another piece of media that I recently consumed that I actually had been it had in the back of my mind for a long time, but I never actually gone out of my way to read it. Um, and I'm glad I finally did, especially in reference to other pieces of media that I may or may not have recently heavily um, consumed in direct reference to it. Glad I did because both it's uncanny, see it, do the thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is not subtle. Um, and also straight up didn't realize really what that piece of media was about. But it's rough, to say the least. It's rough. It's a rough time. But you'll never catch me laughing at live action Odo, the dog. I still desperately want to say it, but And I probably would if I didn't have verifiable reason to believe that it would be spoilers and to individuals in chat. Listen, if I don't know who you are and you haven't seen it yet, sorry, bud, this is the internet. What if I do know who you are and I do know it would be spoilers? I'm like, oh, damn, I can't. Shit. Fuck. I want to talk about it so bad. It's hurting my teeth. There's so much. But hey, it's the same reason why Signalis has stuff like that. That now I have to go, oh, if you don't know anything about Signalis. There is a thing that has been happening a lot that is super cool. That a lot of the people, me included, who are starting to make video games, starting to make a lot of modern media, just in general, are utilizing classic literature as direct allegory for mediums that they originally were not intended for. And every time it's been done so far, it has been the coolest shit. It has been the coolest shit to see. It happened. The earliest example I can think of this is Spec Ops: The Line. And I don't think this is spoilers because it's one of the things that really got it into the discourse, as well as the discourse of finally being like, our video games art, is, for me, Spec Ops: The Line is where video games as literature truly came to realization, because it was the first time that a literary work had been utilized to examine an entire medium and then use that medium to actually pull that allegory out. Spec Ops: The Line only works as an allegory for the Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now because it's a video game. Because Apocalypse Now only works as a movie because it's a movie, and the Heart of Darkness only works because it's a book. The Heart of Darkness, the book, only works because it's a book. And as time has gone on, I've been seeing that more and more and more and more and more examples of it. Signalis is another example of it. Even so much so to the point that if you don't know what it's an allegory for, I won't spoil it then, aside from it's literally in the game. The allegory of Signalis is inside of Signalis. And it hurts my brain having read what it's an allegory for. It makes the source material of Signalis scarier by admission of that. I went out of my way to read the allegorical media that Signalis is heavily based on. That shit is scarier because both pieces of media exist. Oh, thank God. Just don't watch the VOD after this, Comfy. Just don't do it. Gotcha. And I appreciate it. Comfy. And everybody out there, go watch Digital Circus. That's really good. It's really good. I was not... Listen, I made a mistake. It's really good. It's really, really good. It's really good. Just make sure to tell me when you leave, so that way I will know. Well, actually, you'll probably also... Hold on. They will mention. Uh-oh. 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 Here, I want to actually respond to this. There's something right to be happening. I didn't realize how late it was. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. See, this is a good time for me to be able to discuss this. This is where maybe with this while I'm animating no matter what, this might be something I'm going to keep in mind for the future. That it's encouraging. It's actually encouraging to me to be able to talk about this stuff, especially while I'm doing animation, because I hope it illustrates the kind of mindset I'm wanting to go into as I'm exploring more animation in my creative process. Because, as I've mentioned many times before, um, a part of what I am interested in, to a certain extent, as far as like animation, as far as creating things, as far as doing this stuff, is writing matters to me. Writing matters to me a lot, like a lot. Like I care about it. I care, and it is something that even if I'm not the primary writer, it is something that I would want to engage with directly. It's something that that a part of the storytelling for me in a lot of pieces of media like video games and animation. The storytelling that those pieces of media do well through what's unique about those pieces of media are something that I care about because a lot of my favorite pieces of media do that, and I want to be able to process that kind of stuff to be able to put it into my own work. Because there there's no original work, guys. It's just not true. Well, mostly not true. Original ideas are taking your lived experience and processing them through your unique perspective. That's it. That's all it is. Truly. And with that in mind, okay, maybe I only got a 4. I have 2 more streams of this. I can do it. Um, I want to be able to like talk about animations that I've like enjoyed and stuff like that while I'm doing this because it keeps me in the mindset to be like, okay, like I am we're all here for goofs and gaffs, but I am here to actually take this medium seriously for what I can provide to it. And not just be like, yeah, I think animation shoot things move. Like, no, I think as a medium I want to study, I need to be willing to air my processed thoughts about pieces inside of the medium that I like, dislike, stuff like that. Boy, can I tell you, I got some things to say about that shit. Safe. Safe. No, I just want to make sure. I just want to be certain. I really don't want to. Listen, listen, listen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. I'm sorry, guys, but Digital Circus is. I wouldn't want to spoil it for the people that I find closest, and I will actually say this right here, right now. This is your last chance to not hear any spoilers. Go watch this shit and watch the VOD later if you want to hear what I talk about. Um, that's why I have the VODs, honestly. Hold on. Just telling somebody something very important. Anyways, so number one, Digital Circus. For anybody out there, because I didn't know this, I didn't know this going into it, but when I first watched a Digital Circus, I thought it was interesting. I was like, okay, I see some stuff they're doing with characters here that I think is interesting. I think it could be a fun time. I think I like the characters quite a bit. And I like the premise decently, though the Invader Zim humor I could take it or leave. It's a little grating. I hope it isn't what the show focuses on. What I did not know, what actually sold me on it, is Ari was telling me about it. Now, I actually originally watched it and then showed it to Ari and Lauren, and they weren't really impressed with it, and that kind of painted my opinion. I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong. Like they're right. The Invader Zim stuff is kind of annoying. So I fell off with it. Fast forward to literally a month ago. We're hanging out, and they go, so we have to apologize. Well, no, I won't be. No. Pretty much, they were like, okay, we did actually end up watching it. It's really fucking good. And the thing that we were discussing about it that really stuck in my brain is they went, source material for it is I have no mouth and I must scream. Here's the thing, folks. Yesterday, I binged the first half of it, about 5 episodes, and went, this is really good. And then today, having it in my mind and kind of like keeping that in my mind, I listened to an audiobook of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And here's my spoiler for both, to enrich those who have seen and read both any other pieces of media. I have reason to believe there are other pieces of media that I'd be interested in that are also lightly allegorical or at least directly inspired by I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, including the literal video game, but also another video game visual novel that I don't think is. I don't know. I'd have to play it. It's called Analog, A Hate Story. But it's good. It's really good. The thing about the allegory of the original and application of Digital Circus utilizing it for a modern audience is that we actually have a little bit more wisdom and nuance to it. And it is Digital Circus is absolutely without a doubt hard science fiction because it is an allegory utilizing much more modern concepts to the original ideas introduced in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. That is why I give it a pass and actually understand from an artistic standpoint the Zim humor. Nobody, well, really nobody, including the characters themselves, like the Zim humor. Most of the Zim humor comes from pain. And it is torture. Now here's the thing, and I was like kind of mentioning this to friends earlier because I was like, I like it. I like I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. But it's rough. It is very, very rough. It is one of the most intense short stories I have read in a long time, just as pure content goes. It is rough, but it kind of has to be. Because the nature of it, before going back into Digital Circus, and I want to maintain this, I have not seen the finale yet. So I don't know how it concludes, but the thing about I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is there's a very big emphasis put on the concept of hatred. And there's a lot of really bad stuff that happens in a very short amount of time in the short story that has to kind of happen because it really wants to illustrate a very unfortunate reality regarding humanity and the concept of hatred. That I think, in reference to Digital Circus has actually a little bit more nuance to provide towards it. The nuance that the short story provides is the nuance of a sledgehammer, but a very well, a very well placed sledgehammer. a lot of it is about breaking down that kind of negative feeling of what makes people dislike each other a lot because of the very real um, foil that the AI that exists in that short story, is for everybody in that situation. And the reason why that's really, really important, like really, really important, is I think something that is lost on a lot of the characters, well, not a lot of the characters, the main character mainly, um, is that there's an entire moment. There are multiple moments in which it is discussed on where feelings of hatred come from, and none of them are good. I want to maintain that. Like this trigger warning, this shit in that book, that is rough. Regarding anything and everything. But I do not think you're supposed to think like, oh yeah, this guy's got a fair point on that. No, I think you're supposed to go, oh, this guy's got a fair point that those are bad. like, you're not supposed. The takeaway of a lot of the things he brings up are supposed to be like, these are bad, these are bad, these are bad that this person is thinking this, these are bad that these people are thinking this, these are bad that these people are doing this. Um, because what motivates hatred is what the short story really, 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 really wants to focus on, the motivation behind it. Um, and the unfortunate thing that the main character never really grasps and understands is that the main antagonist's hatred comes from a place of not hating humanity because of anything that humanity did. If anything, it is trying to process something and doesn't know how to, and is trying to make them understand what it is processing, and everything that Am is putting those people through, it itself is being put through. It's trying to share a perspective, and it's terrible. And the fact that that is the point is what makes me go, okay, that was worth listening to 40 minutes of that. um, because ultimately that is what I get out of, and like what makes, I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream such a fantastic piece of science fiction, is it really explores the human condition of what the fuck is our deal, right? Like, why are we so terrible to each other all the time? And it's not a justification of it. That's the important thing. Remember, it's not a justification of it. It's a criticism. It's a criticism of humanity. It's a real problem we have. Uh, Jump forward to Digital Circus. Digital Circus handles that with a much finer brush, I think. And I like that about it. My kind of sell on Digital Circus is, if there's any piece of media that is going to that has made it palatable in comparison, it's Digital Circus. Digital Circus has made the concept of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream much more palatable, I think. And I think what helps with that is a lot of the characters are much more, well, likable for one. But also, again, it still is willing to play in the headspace of, but those characters are still capable of even some of the heinous shit that happens in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It still is, there still is the capacity for it, and that there's still a lot of analysis of like what causes people to lash out at each other, what causes people to be upset with one another. Like that is a thing that is brought up in Digital Circus, albeit a lot less intensely, though not any less impactfully, and certainly not any less without its own um, insight to still recognize that those people are still capable of things that are upsetting, like genuinely upsetting. Um, that's why I would say like my defense of the short story is that I do think that it does need to be that harsh given the circumstances, because the whole point is about the miscommunication that's happening between um Am and humanity, between these like, five survivors that they have trapped. And it's malicious. That's on my mic. Okay. It's malicious. It is malicious. It's very malicious. But it's malicious with the intent of trying to make someone understand something, because it's the only thing it could think to do. Without getting into too many more spoilers, Digital Circus is hard science fiction for that as well. It is about exploring the human condition through very much that same lens of seeing someone or something non-human trying to explain itself to human beings in a way that it understands, but not in a way human beings are going to easily understand, and inversely not being able to understand why they can't understand it. And it is that disconnect, it is that communicative disconnect that is what makes that whole situation compelling. Makes it compelling for one. It also. I want to try. Sorry. What? This is where this is actually kind of a bit of fun. I get to play a little bit of Calvin Ball with this popper. I need to think about where the light is coming from. Yeah. That's correct. Um, but the allegory by the and I shouldn't have read the comments, but again, I saw people be like, "Yep, it's it." Where I'm like, sometimes I think people are just saying shit to be like, "No, but you're wrong," when it's like, it's such a thing. It's not really a secret. And now that I've read the book, there is shit. There is just straight up shit that happens in Digital Circus that happens in I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream. There are direct analogs. They exist. It's an allegory. You can't tell me that literally the scene where Jax goes and attacks his body double and starts trying to eat him is not at least a playful homage to the sequence in which a character, one of the characters who all the characters have been starving but can't die, but still feel the act of starving all the time, decides to start trying to eat another one of the characters out of desperation because they're that hungry and want to stop feeling hungry. Just saying. They're there. I'm spitting all over my screen. And again, I one of the reasons why I really want to fixate on I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream as one of those examples of it's hard for me to recommend that book. That I would rather probably recommend Digital Circus because it is much more palatable. A lot of the character and character writing in Digital Circus is really, really good. Really solid. Straight up, some character conversations in that show hurt me in a good way. Um, but I would still recommend I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream because of its willingness to not be frank. Like, its willingness to be like, part of the point is to say, look, there's literally a moment in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream in which the main character starts because it's written in first person, and I think it has to be. It kind of makes sense, even like as a piece of literature, it has to be in first person. I Have No Mouth and My Own Scream would not work if it was not in first person, because the whole premise that it's really playing with is perspective and how limited it is, uh, and that limitation causing problems. Um, the main character starts having this moment where they're having essentially like a psychotic breakdown, where they start saying like they start mentioning how they they start justifying certain perceived actions that people were doing to try to cope. Try to cope. It's about cope. They were trying to cope with the situation and some of the reactions that people were making that were kind of like poorly made, and starts overthinking them, partly because of the situation degrading their mental state to a point that they couldn't work anymore. Um, but part of it dives into like making these assertions and assumptions of like, oh, they must be having these thoughts because of this, and then it spirals into like, oh, this is why this person acts this way, and this is just why they're this way, and they like go on this tirade up saying all of this awful shit about these other people, and then ends it with, but I'm fine. And it was like that moment that clicked with me of like, no, you're not. Like that's part of the point. Like it's why like that book can say all those awful things and be like, no, it's for a point, because in reality, that's where hatred comes from, right? Like those kind of hateful thoughts comes from somebody being put in a situation, in a mindset, in a degraded mindset, and just making assumptions on behalf of other people because they don't have any other way to come to those conclusions. They can't. They almost can't. They're prohibited from being able to do that to a certain extent. And one of the things that I think adds to the nuance of Digital Circus is they can, and they do. They actually have those discussions with each other, and that they're not easy. And some of the characters even fight them on it, which really plays to the original assertion that not everyone even is going to play nicely about that, because not everybody's open about stuff like that. You know? I don't know if you guys knew this, but I don't know if you guys knew. This is pretty fucking good. I have to say. Highly recommend it. Wouldn't recommend it enough, actually, the more I talk about it. Okay. Alright, this is a good start. I want to see. Doing this. Doing a better job of this. Yeah, I think I want that there, and then I'm getting much better at doing this, at erasing out from behind. That's something I'm getting much better at, I think. Well, dang, I didn't even stop at any point, though. I feel like in some ways, I didn't get as much done as I probably wanted to, but in others, I feel like I also didn't stop at any point. I didn't, like, pause. Like, pretty much, other than the moments where I went on random tirades. Sorry. Uh, I didn't, like, stop animating at any point. I didn't like stop and watch it for a few minutes or something. Like I've pretty much animated this entire time. Good. Good. Say surface and really I only need to fill in about that. The rest I gotta just trace out. That's something I've gotten way better at, actually. So yeah, I've been thinking about a lot today. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I've been having a lot on my mind. Um, but I definitely wanted to, of the two pieces, actually wanted to discuss a little bit more Have No Mouth and I Must Scream comparatively, just because one, I haven't finished Digital Circus, and two, um, it just it really surprised me. It really startled me in a way that I just wasn't anticipating it to do. I wasn't anticipating it to. I was not anticipating it to hit me that hard, I guess. To a certain extent. Like I knew I was gonna like it because I like science fiction. I like hard science fiction. I like science fiction about Android and AI intelligence. It's something I've always had an interest in. So like I knew I was gonna like it. I just didn't know why I was gonna like it. And frankly speaking, other than something like, and I haven't played System Shock, and I should. Like the only closest thing I can think of in comparison that I have like any frame of reference, and even then, it's only because I know it exists, because I know things about it, not because I've played it myself, and I do need to play it myself. It would be System Shock. Because Shodan is also very much in that same kind of mind space of being about analyzing humanity, right? Like very analytically perceiving humanity and the kind of like stressful situation that causes in doing so through interfacing with an AI who has gained a certain level of not just sentience but just general um cognition. And now for Digital Circus, I think Digital Circus is incredibly fascinating because Digital Circus brings in an element now of context that we have in the modern era, in that I think it's important actually that it is a piece of YouTube media. This Leave it to YouTubers between this and like Marble Hornets and shit. They know how to use this platform to make art discussing its platform. Because I think that Kane isn't just an AI on its own. Because even though, it was made, I was told that an element of this was involving I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Um, I think there's a bit of a modernization of it to include a lot of things that we're starting to see regarding, you know, AI, regarding generative content, stuff like that. And the reasoning that I have for that is because there's a very important element presentation in that show regarding Kane that gives more of an implication that he's not just supposed to be like a Shodan. He's not just supposed to be an Am, because Kane is not inherently malicious. Because Kane is operating more like an algorithm, like a content algorithm, than he is behaving like just a media generator or just like a AI who's gained sentience. If anything, part of what makes it interesting from a modern perspective is Kane understands that he's not just if Am is about the cognition of a war machine, Kane is about the cognition of an entertainment machine, of an entertainment machine becoming made self-aware. It's if the YouTube algorithm suddenly started thinking about why it does what it does. You know what? That's kind of cool. So again, I might maybe chance I might end up watching at Friends. I've been talking with friends. I might, mayhaps, be watching that later tonight. Even I was maybe gonna watch it this weekend, but we'll see. Depends. But I will be watching that soon. I will be watching the finale by the end of this week, I believe. If not tonight, definitely this weekend. I do want to watch it with friends, but I might end up watching it on my own. It just depends. There you go. Everybody, Digital Circus is good. Circus is good. Watch it. It's good. Goose, you did good. Goose, you did good. You did a good job making a piece of science fiction. Horror. And it is science fiction. It's science fiction. Absolutely. There is no there's no him haws about it. It is science fiction. And it's also just a pretty good comedy too. Also, it is important to remember, and also part of what kind of makes that piece work so well and adds to more of the humanity is the humor, and it is genuinely really good. It's got a great sense of humor. There are some good jokes. And I only mainly say this all. Here's the truth come out. The main reason why I say this, I read the fucking comments of the second to last episode. Somebody made a comment saying like, you know, mentioning I have no mouth and I must scream as a reference that happens in that episode, and then somebody in the comments going, "It's just a reference." My mother, you read the fucking book. If that person just read the book and then watched the show again, it's not a reference. It's an allegory. Just an allegory. Allegories can be different. That's the whole thing about allegories. They use the source material and ideas to examine a different thing, but it's still the same story. It's not a different story. That I'm just gonna see this frame. Why do you care? Because I want to look good. What are we at? I think I'm gonna go until it hits ads. And then when ads are done, we'll start wrapping it up. We made some good progress. I mean, uh, I am actually very close to halfway. Oh shit. Happy. That won't work. Oh, I'm wrong. Why isn't that working? Oh, that's why. Actually, no, that's why. That makes sense. Like a copy. Funny is, yeah, this will probably be all dark like this. Plain. Yeah. Might do just like that. Got a plane here. Well, I shouldn't have scribbled there. I would have been able to fill it in. Too late. There we go. That. Yeah. Maybe really all I wanted to be able to say was Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is very good, but it is a very upsetting time. It's good because it's upsetting, but boy, is it fucking upsetting. Maybe that's all I wanted to say. It's like there's a lot. There's a lot to kind of like dig into. But again, there's so much about it that really does, for me anyways, it really does a good job of trying to really put into perspective that a lot of the stuff that Am is doing is perceived as just being bad, right? It's just perceived as like they're just doing it to be terrible because from the perspective of the main character, they're just punishing humanity for making them exist at all. When when you really think about it, when you really think about it and like try to like put into perspective what they are trying to like communicate to them, right? And even then by the end of the book, um I think it's made clear, at least to me it's made clear that like even the main character understands this is like it's only doing all of this as a reaction of some kind. They don't understand why that reaction is, but they do understand that it's like something is bothering them. Something is bothering the computer. And the more I like sat on it and thought about it, I'm like, oh, it's because the computer is lashing out because it wants to explain that this all sucks. But it's only doing it the only way it knows how. Through the only means that it was shown, even. It's only expressing itself the only way it knows how to. Hold on, I'm gonna do something really fast. Distraction. Hey, perfect timing. Ads are about to come up anyways, and then I'll have ads pass, and then we'll finish up. Just responding to something. I'm just wishing my girlfriend a good night. I want to. What? Space a little bit. That. Do something like this. Funny thing about this shadow is this shadow is not going to change much. The head's not moving. No, have to. Kind of want to add a little bit of shadow here helps like make it a little bit more dynamic to like, show that like there's a bit of a shift. Bit of a texture shift. There's a bit of a tone shift. Feel like it comes out of nowhere. This is where the producer says, "We don't have the budget for this. What are you doing?" And I go, "Just trust the process for 2 seconds, Steve." He goes, "We don't have the money. What are you doing? Stop it." All right. And then I do one more frame. You shit. You absolute ass muncher. Hey, actually, you know what? There's no insult to anybody who likes munching ass. Keep doing your thing. Nothing wrong with it, actually. You know what? Don't judge people for munching ass. They're braver than you. There we go. There we go. Like that. I gotta remember the onion skin only really helps to kind of like frame a reference of like where the shadow was last. But that's all it does. It just informs. It does not tell me exactly where it needs to go. Okay, shadow here. That moves a little bit. Mind? And once we do this, we watch it, and then we're good for the day. Okay, progress was made. That's whatever matters. And what can I say? I really wanted to talk about. I always do. I feel like there's nothing else. I like talking about media when I'm doing these projects. Again, it keeps me. I don't know how to phrase it other than it gives me. It gives me hope that of all the things that I'm seeing and all the things that I'm talking about, I too, with things like God of Limbs, that I'm working to provide those experiences. I don't know if I necessarily would want to make my own allegory or what I would want to make that allegory for. But the closest I could think of would be like something like, I don't know, Speaker for the Dead or Ender's Game, though I don't know how I would make an allegory out of those. Try though. I feel like it's already been done. We already have. I was a teenage exocolonist that has a lot of things in common with those pieces of media. I don't think I need much. All right, time to see the result, I guess. It feels promising. It feels promising. I think I made some good progress. That shadow does look good. Yeah, that shadow does look really, really good. It adds a lot. The depth of the shadow is worth it. The depth of the render is worth it. It'll make everything look pretty. It'll make everything look pretty. The shadow helps add a little bit more of that, like, just spice. Add some spice. Add some flavor. And I mean, this was still 3 hours of work. It was still, what, like 5 or 6 seconds of progress. Like, animation takes a long time. And I'm also talking and distracting myself, and a boy keeps sitting in my lap. I don't know if he's sleeping in his tree. It's okay, I love him. Turd. Well, either way, we're gonna go ahead and call it here, though. I'm feeling pretty. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this. I feel like I made some good progress. Uh, it's getting there. It's getting there, one step at a time. It's getting there. Um, hopefully, as soon as, I mean, it's gonna get done within the year, unless something real bad happens. But I do think it'll get done within the year, and that'll be good. 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna put my desk back together, but we're gonna do one more thing before we go. Before the end of every stream, I gotta draw a picture. You guys are gonna help me. If you'd like, we're gonna make a prompt. And I have to draw it in 60 seconds. Paint. And because I was using my drawing tablet today, I have to do it on keyboard and mouse. It's fun. If you want to participate in making the prompt, all you gotta do is type in chat, whatever chat says. You could say like a word, like a noun or subject, and then I have to take everything that chat says. I'll draw it and I'll share it before we read out. So meeting funny rabbit boy. Guys, hot take is Jax is a really good character. I like him a lot. He's very interesting. He's a huge asshole. He's an interesting asshole. Oh, I gotta open my stuff. Gotta open my stuff. 1 second. Did it. You did it in one. You did it in one. I did it in one. Very good at keyboard and mouse. I mean, in a certain sense, the restriction here is good for me. Gonna give him one of these. I did it. It's him. He's here. He's here and I did it. I'm just gonna... Perfect. Yep, that seems about right. Yeah, that's... This might actually save this one. Send to my friends. Alright. Well, that's it for me. That's it for me, folks. Thank you for joining, everybody. If you want to see that picture, you got to stick around to the very end. I also do a bit of a closing bit. We do raid at the end of every stream, so that way the vampires in our chat can keep watching. Just everybody else out there, make sure to go lock your doors and windows. It is almost lunchtime for vampires. Thank you for joining, everybody. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're able to join the live show, thank you for stopping by and chatting and watching. If you're watching this in the future, thank you for taking the time to go back and rewatching the vlog. We appreciate it. If you're out there and you enjoyed this and you want to see more of what we're up to, I recommend scrolling down below and following or clicking any of the links. There's a link to all the socials and the Discord below. We post when we go live on one of those platforms, as well as anything else that we're up to, and just generally you can come hang out with the rest of the community there. Good time in the Discord. Speaking of which, shout out to our community on there and everyone who follows. Oh wait, no, I got also the dang thing. Going too fast again. Going too fast again. You can find the Discord there. It's a good time in there, honestly. You can go say hi to everybody. It's the best way to probably keep up with anything that we're doing, because I'm probably doing most of my posting, aside from everything else that I'm posting everywhere, but you'll find it probably quickest in there, because it's Discord. It's Discord. Discord will know things. Speaking of which, shout out to our community on the Discord and everyone who follows. You guys are a wonderful audience, and we appreciate you. If we do anything particularly entertaining and noteworthy, feel free to clip it and share it on the internet. Just make sure also hashtag it with MCCanary or link it back to the stream so people can find more of the good stuff we do here. And if you want to see the stream grow, you gotta let people know. I appreciate that you guys have been talking about the stream, and I encourage you guys to do it more. It does help us out. Hydrate Bot is here. Be hydrated. But it does help us out. It's super rad that you guys are willing to do that. I'm glad we're doing things that you guys want to talk about. It really means a lot to me. It's really neat and just kind of cool. It's just cool that we do things that you guys are interested in. I'm glad that we're doing things that seem relevant. I have relevancy. It's weird. I'm not used to it. So if you did enjoy this and you do want to see more of it and you do want it to grow, you should tell people about it. Tell your friends about it. I won't. And as always, a huge thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon, Coffee, and Twitch. You guys are wonderful. Your generosity allows us to expand the stream as well as take on more projects. The stream would not be made possible without viewers like you, so we thank you. If you want to see your name added to any of these lists, as well as some other benefits that you can get, you can always subscribe directly on Twitch. Or you could check out the Patreon, Coffee, and VGen here. Those links will show you everything that you can get, and any amount is always appreciated. Once again, thank you. If you do, I am available for commissions. I am working on the VGen, constantly adding to it as best as I can. Like I said, I'm going to try to get products on there soon. Definitely check it out. It's another way that you can help support the channel. It's a way that you can support me directly. And a way if this can get going, then I can start doing more of it, and I can start doing more of it on my own, and we can do bigger and better things. So you'd also get a chance to just get some art from me, and I like making art. So if you want to see more of my art, go check out the VGen. Thank you, Mods. You wonderful job holding back the robot army and friend of becoming famous. Thank you, everybody who came and hung out. Thank you for watching. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you. We're going to do one more thing before we go. Check out all of our friends in Goblin Entertainment here. That link tree has links to everyone's channels and everything that they've done, they've been up to, and more of my stuff here, which has everything that I post to. If you enjoyed this, but you came in late, definitely check out the VOD channel in the link tree. That'll show you. It should have it live. Usually in the morning is when it appears, is sometime around 10 a.m. Central. But should be available tomorrow if Twitch doesn't break for the VOD for this. You can also find the rest of the animation streams, see the progress of everything that I've gone through and been through, and just everything we've done in the last couple of years. It's all on the VOD channel. On that note, sorry, my lips are bugging. Bleh, bleh, bleh. Yes, sir. Calm down. If any of that also interests you, for the rest of the week, honestly, tomorrow should be doing more space with James and his brother Kenneth. Then we'll be back around on Monday doing something new. I'm super excited. I'm super, super excited for Monday. Tuesday, nothing. Don't know why I said Tuesday. Wednesday, should be doing more Mothership. Thursday, a little bit more multiplayer stuff with James and Aqua, and then we'll be back around. So, again, if any of that interests you, if you want to keep up with it, follow on Twitch, get on all the places, get in the YouTube, get in the socials, get in the Discord. Definitely get in the Discord. Probably the best way to keep up with anything we're doing. And otherwise, keep being cool, being awesome, do crime, do responsible crime. Be responsible when you do crime, but go do crime. I'll get us on our way, but something good in the world. Oh, did I talk about narwhals? I don't remember if I talked about narwhals, but we learned things about narwhal. There's new narwhal lore. And it turns out that narwhals, we've learned a new function for their horn, and they use their horn sometimes to smack fish. Thanks, narwhals. Yes. On that note, everybody stick around. Go say hi to Tim. I don't know what Tim's gonna do, but he's playing Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know nothing about that game. So go say hi to him. This is the Tim Rogers of Action Button fame. Otherwise, thank you for joining. Take it easy. And remember, if you want to avoid spoilers, don't get on the internet. It's honestly a surprise I got this far. I think this is what I would want. My boy is so warm, so toasty and flat. Feel him. Purring too. So sleepy looking. He's got sleepy face. I don't know why he's so sleepy. He ain't done nothing. I was about to pick him up and lift him over my head like Simba, but I don't think he would like that. But I might do it anyways. He's really begging me not to. He gave me a look to say, please don't do that. He knows. He definitely knows.